All right, diving in today, folks, we're going to be tackling the power of positive thinking.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and for this one, we're pulling from the Mindset Mastery podcast. They had a really fascinating conversation. A host named Rahul and a listener, Priya,
Okay.
and they go pretty deep into this, how to cultivate a more positive mindset.
I love that show.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they have to say.
Yeah, so think of this deep dive as like your cheat sheet,
Uh-huh.
to understanding this whole thing.
Mhm.
Because the thing that really stood out to me from their conversation is that positive thinking isn't just about like, oh, be happy all the time.
Right.
It's really a skill.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. That's what I really appreciate about their show is how practical it is.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you want to be more positive. Here are very concrete things you can do to train your brain to think in a more positive way.
It's a choice, like to focus on solutions
Exactly.
instead of problems.
Yeah, and what's so exciting is I think they get into this, but like how it can improve your life in so many different areas, not just, your mood.
Absolutely, yeah. They touched on this idea that it can boost your productivity.
Hmm.
They talked about like better physical health, and even, which I thought was really interesting, is that they talked about longevity, like that it could actually help you live longer.
Wow. So they're saying it's not just like a feel-good thing, it's actually like physically impactful as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was really compelling, but, kind of made me wonder, and I know Priya asked this question too during the podcast, like, is there actually any proof to all of this?
Right, right. Because it sounds great, but is there
Yeah.
science to back it up?
Exactly. So that's kind of like the main thing that we're going to be uh, diving into as we kind of break down their whole conversation.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, they start with the why.
Okay.
They get into like the neuroscience behind positive thinking. And I thought this was really fascinating because what they were basically saying is that our thoughts aren't just these like abstract things. They have a real impact on our brain chemistry.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's where the science comes in.
Exactly. So, I don't know if you remember this, but they specifically talk about dopamine and serotonin.
Right, the happy chemicals.
Yes. And so their point is that when we are, engaging in positive thinking, we're actually releasing more of these, pleasure and well-being neurochemicals.
Oh, that makes so much sense because it's like when you're feeling good, you're more likely to keep doing whatever it is that's making you feel good. So it becomes like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm following. So more positive thoughts, more happy chemicals.
Yeah.
What about the opposite? Like what happens when we're stuck in negative thought patterns?
That's a great question. And they actually address that too. They talk about how when we're thinking negatively all the time, it can actually trigger our body's stress response.
Oh, the fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine if you're constantly thinking negative thoughts, your body's basically in a constant state of stress.
Oh, that's no good. So it's like the opposite of those happy chemicals. It's like stress hormones flooding your system.
Yeah, and I mean, you can think about this in your own life. Like,
Yeah.
when you're stressed out, are you thinking positive thoughts or negative thoughts?
Definitely negative.
It's all doom and gloom when I'm stressed.
Yeah, so it's like, this is all connected.
Wow, so this is all about the mind-body connection.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating because we often think of our thoughts as separate from our bodies, but it's all interconnected.
Totally. So, okay, so we've got the why, right?
Okay.
Now they actually move into some really practical stuff. And the first thing they talk about is our inner dialogue.
Oh, that little voice in our heads.
Yes, and they make this really great point that a lot of times that voice is negative.
Ugh, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's like Rahul gave this example.
Imagine you make a mistake. And what's the first thing you say to yourself?
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say. It's like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why do we do that to ourselves?
I know, but then he contrasts that with what, a more positive thinker might say, which is like, it's okay, I'll learn from this.
Yeah, it's so simple, but so powerful.
Yeah, I know, right? So their practical advice here is to actually start replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones.
Okay, so it's like actively changing the script.
Exactly. So instead of saying, I can't do this,
Yeah.
you say, I'm learning how to do this.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like catching yourself when you go down that negative spiral and then consciously choosing a different thought.
Exactly. It's like retraining your brain.
Okay, so we're working on that inner voice. What else do they suggest?
Well, the next thing they talk about is the importance of your environment.
Oh, interesting, like where you are and who you're with.
Yeah, exactly. And they made this really good analogy. They said, just like we're careful about what we put into our bodies, like what we eat.
Yeah.
We should be just as careful about what we're letting into our minds.
Makes sense.
So, are we surrounding ourselves with people who are supportive?
Right. And things that are uplifting.
Exactly. So they talked about, spending time with people who are supportive and positive, reading inspirational books, listening to podcasts.
Of course they had to mention podcasts.
Yeah.
The best medium, obviously.
Exactly. But they also talk about, things to avoid,
Oh, like what?
like too much negative news, gossip, things like that.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would bring you down.
Yeah. So it's like being really intentional about what you're consuming,
It's like curating your mental diet.
I like that.
It's a great way to put it.
So, okay, so we've got our inner dialogue.
Check.
We've got our environment.
Check.
What else?
What's next?
Well, the next thing they talk about is becoming solutions-oriented.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. What does that mean exactly?
So basically, they're saying that positive thinkers tend to focus on finding solutions
Uh,
instead of dwelling on the problem.
right. So it's like not getting bogged down in what's wrong, but immediately jumping to, okay, how can we fix this?
Exactly. And they give this great example of, imagine you fail a test.
Ugh, the
I
worst.
know, right? So they said a negative thinker might say, oh, I'm a failure.
Yeah, that's probably what I would say.
But a positive thinker, they would say, okay, what can I do differently next time?
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a complete reframing.
It's like taking control of the situation instead of letting the situation control you.
Absolutely. And so they're basically saying that, challenges are going to happen,
Yeah, that's life.
right? But how we respond to them is what really matters.
Okay, I'm liking this solutions-oriented approach.
Yeah. So what do we have so far?
We've got inner dialogue, environment, solutions.
Yep. And the fourth thing they talk about is gratitude.
Oh, I love gratitude.
Me too.
It's so powerful.
It really is. And they talk about how it's basically like rewiring your brain for positivity.
Okay, tell me more about this rewiring.
So they actually recommend a very specific practice.
Oh, I love a good practice.
Yeah. So they said, try to write down every day 3 things that you're grateful for.
Okay, so like journaling about gratitude.
Yeah, exactly. And they give some examples,
Like what?
like a kind gesture from a friend, a delicious meal,
Oh, that's a good one.
even just like the start of a new day.
Yeah, just the simple things.
Yeah, and I think the idea here is that it's so easy to get caught up in what we don't have.
Oh, absolutely, especially in today's world with social media and everything.
Right. So this is like forcing yourself to focus on the good.
It's like training your brain to look for the positive.
Absolutely. And they didn't explicitly say this, but I kind of felt like this was their point that, even if you don't feel super grateful at first,
Yeah.
if you keep doing this,
Fake it till you make it.
exactly, like you're kind of tricking your brain into being more positive.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so we've got inner dialogue, environment solutions, gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
What's the last piece of the puzzle?
All right. Last but not least, they talk about visualization.
Oh, okay. I've heard of this, like vision boards and stuff.
Well, it's similar, but they talk about it more in terms of mentally rehearsing success.
Oh, okay. So like picturing yourself achieving your goals.
Exactly. And they use this great analogy of, athletes like visualizing themselves winning a race.
Right, like mentally preparing.
Exactly.
I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah. And so their point is that, if you can imagine yourself succeeding,
Yeah.
then you're more likely to actually succeed.
Because you've already kind of experienced it in your mind.
Yeah. And so they give this example that I thought was really relevant. Like, imagine you're learning a new language
Okay.
and you visualize yourself speaking that language fluently.
Right, like having a conversation with someone, no problem.
Exactly. And their point is that by doing this,
Yeah.
you're building your confidence.
Yeah.
And you're also kind of like eroding the fear of failure.
Because you've already seen yourself succeed in your mind.
Exactly. So it's like using your imagination as a tool for success.
I love that. Okay, so to recap, we've got the 5 steps to positive thinking.
Yes.
Change your inner dialogue, surround yourself with positivity, focus on solutions, practice gratitude, and visualize success.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow, that's a lot, but it's also actionable.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I really loved about their conversation.
Yeah,
Is that it wasn't just like, oh, think positive. It was like, here's how to actually do it.
exactly. It's not about denying the negative. It's about training your brain to focus on the positive.
Yes, and I think that's so important because, life is going to throw us curveballs.
Oh, yeah,
We're going to face challenges,
for sure.
but it's about, having that mental framework to deal with them in a more positive and constructive way.
Absolutely. And what I really appreciate about all of this is that it's something anyone can do. It's not some magical secret. It's about taking control of your thoughts and your environment.
Absolutely. And, we've talked about a lot today,
We have.
but I think the most important thing is, like, what are you going to do with this information?
Right. Like, how can our listeners actually apply this to their own lives?
Exactly. So I want you to think about this. Like, what is one small change you could make today to start shifting your mindset in a more positive direction?
And maybe even think about a specific situation that's been bothering you.
Yeah,
And ask yourself, how could focusing on solutions instead of problems change how you approach that situation?
that's a great question.
It's all about taking action, even if it's just one small step.
I love that. And, I think if you consistently practice these things,
Yeah.
you might be surprised at the impact it has on your life.
Absolutely. It's all about taking control of your mindset and creating the life you want.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. Well, I'm feeling very positive after this deep dive.
Me too. Thanks for joining me.
Always a pleasure. All right. And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See ya.